Most of us spend the first half of our lives obsessed with the idea of losing weight, specifically fat. We step on the scale hoping the number goes down. But there is a silent biological process happening in the background that is far more dangerous than carrying a few extra pounds. It is called sarcopenia, and essentially it is the age-related melting of your muscle tissue. While we focus on shrinking our waistlines, our body is quietly shedding its most vital metabolic armor. This isn't just about not looking buff in a t-shirt. Muscle is the organ of longevity. The research is clear. The amount of muscle mass and strength you maintain into your 60s, 70s, and beyond is one of the strongest predictors of how long you will live and, more importantly, how well you will live. Today, we are going to run a sarcopenia check to see if this process has already accelerated in your body and exactly what you need to do to stop it. To understand if you are at risk, we first have to understand the timeline. Many people assume muscle loss is a problem for the elderly, something to worry about when you are 80. This is a dangerous misconception. Physiologically, sarcopenia begins much earlier. Research indicates that muscle mass naturally peaks around age 30. Shortly after that, if you are not actively intervening, you begin to lose muscle mass at a rate of roughly 3% to 5% per decade. By the time you hit age 60, that rate accelerates. The scary part is that this loss is often masked. You might weigh the same as you did 5 years ago, but your body composition has shifted. You have lost dense muscle tissue and replaced it with fat, often infiltrating the muscle itself, confusingly known as marbling, much like a steak. This leads to a condition called sarcopenic obesity. You are technically a normal weight, but you are metabolically obese and structurally frail. So why does this happen? Why does the body decide to melt down its own hardware? The primary driver is a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance. When you are young, your body is incredibly sensitive to protein and exercise. You eat a steak, and your body immediately uses those amino acids to build tissue. As you age, your muscles become hard of hearing. They stop responding efficiently to the signals to grow or repair. Additionally, there is a decline in the nerves that control your muscles. Motor neurons, which send the signal from your brain to your muscle fibers to contract, begin to die off. If a muscle fiber loses its nerve connection, it withers away and dies. This is why power, the ability to move quickly, is usually the first thing to go, even before raw strength. Let's move to the practical assessment. How do you know if your muscles are melting right now? We look for specific functional red flags. The first and most telling sign is grip strength. It sounds trivial, but your grip is a proxy for your overall systemic strength. If you are finding it increasingly difficult to open jar lids, carry heavy grocery bags without setting them down, or if your handshake feels weaker, this is a major warning sign. In clinical settings, grip strength is so highly correlated with mortality that some researchers call it an indispensable biomarker for older adults. If your grip is failing, your body is likely already in a catabolic or muscle wasting state. The second sign in our sarcopenia check involves your walking speed. This is often the vital sign of geriatrics. Have you noticed that you walk slower than you used to? Do you find yourself unable to keep up with friends? Or do you feel a sense of urgency when crossing the street before the light changes? A walking speed below 1 meter per second is clinically associated with sarcopenia. This happens because the fast-twitch muscle fibers in your legs, the ones responsible for explosive movement and speed, are the first to atrophy. When these disappear, your gait becomes a shuffle rather than a stride. This increases your risk of falling, which is the leading cause of injury-related death in seniors. The third test is the chair stand test. This is something you can literally do right now while watching this. Can you stand up from a standard height chair without using your arms for support? If you have to rock your body for momentum or push off your knees or the armrests, you have already lost significant functional muscle in your quadriceps and glutes. These are the largest muscle groups in the body. Losing strength here doesn't just make it hard to get out of a chair. It destroys your metabolic health. Your large muscles are essentially glucose sinks. They soak up blood sugar. When those muscles shrink, the sugar has nowhere to go, leading to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. This is why muscle loss and diabetes often go hand in hand. If you identified with any of those signs, weak grip, slow walking, or trouble rising from a chair, it is time to intervene. The good news is that sarcopenia is not inevitable. It is treatable and in many cases reversible. However, the solution requires a shift in mindset. Walking is not enough. While walking is great for your heart and mental health, it does not provide enough stimulus to stop muscle loss. To combat sarcopenia, you need two specific inputs: mechanical tension and metabolic substrate. In plain English, that means heavy resistance training and protein. Let's talk about the exercise component first. You must engage in resistance training. This doesn't mean you need to become a bodybuilder, but you must lift things that are heavy enough to challenge your muscles. The biological principle here is progressive overload. You need to send a signal loud enough to break through that anabolic resistance we talked about earlier. If you lift a weight that you can easily move 20 times, you aren't signaling growth. You need to be lifting weights where you struggle to complete the 8th or 10th repetition. This mechanical stress forces the body to recruit those sleeping motor neurons and maintain the muscle fibers. If you have never lifted weights, start with bodyweight squats, push-ups against a wall, or resistance bands, but the goal must always be to make it harder over time. The second half of the solution is nutrition, specifically protein timing. As we age, because our bodies are less efficient at processing protein, we actually need more of it than younger people, not less. The old recommended daily allowance is often insufficient for preventing sarcopenia. The magic nutrient here is an amino acid called leucine. Leucine acts as the light switch that turns on muscle synthesis. To trigger this switch in an older body, you need a significant dose of protein in one sitting, typically 30 to 40 grams. A piece of toast and coffee for breakfast won't do it. You need to prioritize high-quality protein sources like eggs, meat, fish, or whey protein at every meal to force your body into a building mode rather than a wasting mode. We also cannot ignore the role of vitamin D in hormonal health. Low levels of vitamin D are consistently linked to muscle weakness and falls in the elderly. It is essential to get your levels checked and supplement if necessary. Furthermore, sleep plays a massive role. Growth hormone, which helps repair tissue, is primarily released during deep sleep. If you are chronically sleep deprived, you are accelerating the muscle wasting process. It is a holistic cycle. You need the stimulus from exercise, the building blocks from protein, and the recovery time from sleep. To wrap this up, I want you to change how you view your muscles. Do not look at them as aesthetic vanity metrics. Look at your muscle mass as your pension plan for your health. Every pound of muscle you build and keep today is buying you independence in the future. It is buying you the ability to carry your own luggage, play with your grandchildren, and live without assistance. Sarcopenia is a silent thief, but you have the tools to lock the door. Do the checks we discussed. Test your grip, check your walking speed, and try the chair stand test. If you are sliding backward, start resistance training today. It is never too late to start, but the longer you wait, the steeper the hill becomes.